My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC fight picks and DraftKings lineups run by MMA insiders and professional fighters. Every week, I join Dan Kramer and Nick Newell, two longtime professional fighters that have fought at the highest levels on the planet, as well as Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. So join us every single week for our full fight card breakdowns, our individual fight card breakdowns, our betting guide, and our DraftKings lineups. Next up at UFC Vegas 30, we have Charles Rosa versus Justin Jaynes. Charles Rosa, a nonstop, very good grappler, former training partner of Danny Boy's here. Charles Rosa alternating wins and losses, 2-3 in his last 5. Justin Jaynes also 2-3 in his last 5, but on a 3-fight. Dan, I'll let you go first because you have two things going on here. One, you've trained with Charles Rosa in the past. You've mentioned multiple times he could not be a nicer dude and how slick he is on the ground. And two, you have had a parlay that had Justin Jaynes in it for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, so if my parlay hits, it wipes out all last week plus a little bit of money. So that Paul Craig pick that we took a lot of flack for. So I parlayed him and Justin Jaynes at plus 800, something like that. So I got a unit on that. But I took Justin Jaynes in this one at plus 150 is where I got him at. But listen, I like Charles Rosa. He's a very, very talented fighter. He's slick on the ground. He's very tricky on the ground. And he's been in fights against guys where, honestly, he was a pretty heavy underdog, and he has been super competitive. But he is no longer at American Top Team. I think he went and did his own thing at a smaller camp. I'm not exactly sure.
No, he went to Sanford MMA.
Is he at Sanford now?
Yeah, that's not good for you.
Ooh, that changed things a bit. But so prior to that, are you 100% sure he's at Sanford? Wow.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere.
So then that's a recent development because, well,
I saw him at Angel's.
We're live, huh? Okay. All right. I can't share too much here. But anyways, I know he was not at ATT for a little while. He was, at a smaller camp. And I think some of that reflected in his recent performances. Sanford MMA should help him. They got a bunch of good guys there, a bunch of good training partners. But I still think stylistically, this is a tough matchup for him. He's had kind of a more of a karate stance lately. His hands low. He's been a little bit hittable. He was taken down easily by Derek Minner in his last fight. He's got really good subs and he's creative from his back. But he also is, being a jiu-jitsu guy, he tends to accept staying on his back a little bit too much. I don't think that's really going to matter too much in this fight. Jaynes does have a little bit of wrestling, but I think where Rose is going to run into trouble is Jaynes is just an aggressive, come-forward fighter, and he's got power in his hands. And his career's been spotty. He's took a bunch of fights short notice. He's won some. He's knocked guys out. He's been competitive, so I think he's got a pretty full camp for this one. And I just think stylistically he's going to go forward, stay in Rose's face, throw those bombs, and I think he can land something here. And I think it's really up to Justin Jaynes whether this fight goes to the ground or not. Rose is wrestling. He doesn't really use his wrestling a lot to get the fight to the ground. So I think it's going to be a stand-up fight if Justin Jaynes wants it to be. And I think he's going to power his way through and find a big shot. So I think he's very, very live in this fight, especially at, the plus money, 7,600 in DraftKings. I'm pretty sure I'm going to play him for sure in DraftKings.
So you're super confident in Justin Jaynes. So I agree that I think the line is way too wide. I don't think Charles Rosa is a minus 175 favorite here. Right. But I think Charles Rosa is the pick here, at least for me. I don't have a bet on it. I'm not that confident, but I do think Charles Rosa wins this fight. His jiu-jitsu is fantastic, and he did lose against Derek Minner, and we picked that loss. But Justin Jaynes is not Derek Minner. Derek Minner, it's completely different style, and styles make fights. Justin Jaynes is going to come out early, throwing wild, and that's when Charles Rosa can shoot one of those takedowns and get one. And then if he gets him there, I think it is some trouble for Justin Jaynes. So I agree that Justin will dictate if it's standing or on the ground, but I think he'll dictate it because if he gets too wild with his hands, I think he ends up on the ground. With that being said, I think the way I see this fight going is Charles Rosa avoiding the early storm of Justin Jaynes and then slowly taking over and winning the last 2 rounds. Justin Jaynes will always be live for a knockout in that fight, but I just don't know. I just don't know if that's going to come. And then the last piece to note here before I give it to you, Jacob, to break the tie is Justin Jaynes. Yes, he's on a 3-fight skid, but this fight is at 145, which, you know, it's just a more natural weight class for him. So hopefully moving to 145 will help his little skid there. And, you know, he may not be as chinny and, you know, have those cardio issues after he throws those wild bombs. Jacob, why don't you go ahead and break the tie? Who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, so I have Charles Rosa listed as submission or decision because it seems like he always gets submissions or he loses decisions. In this fight, I think it sets up well for him because Justin Jaynes does have that, or Jaynes does have that wrestling base that I think he's going to go to in this fight. I don't think he should, but I think he's going to end up going to by default. A fun fact: Justin Jaynes in high school got second in the Michigan wrestling tournament, and he lost to Jakar Close, who's in the UFC as well. So it's a little fun fact for you. So I think he comes out. I think he tries to wrestle. I think that's going to be a mistake. And I think Charles Rosa finds a way to get the submission. I'm not confident enough to put him in my lineup, $8,600. I think that I agree with you guys that this line is a little farther apart than it probably should be. But I think that Rosa finds a way to win this fight. So I have him winning. And I think the Monkey Knife fight, probably less, more. One of those weird less mores I think I'd probably play.
I completely agree with you on the Monkey Knife Fight line. I think it's
less. Yeah, I
more.
think less then.
Okay. So Jacob's going to lose even more money than he has with less. I think less more is the play. And if you want to play that, this is the last week, not the last week, but there's no fights next week. So you might as well go hard this week. Go to playmkf.com/wewantpicks. Make a deposit using promo code.
Check out those bet online. I'm going to be looking for a bet online.
I'm in the middle of the Monkey Knife Fight thing, and you just jumped in with check out the bets.
I'm sorry, you've been breaking up so much I couldn't tell.
Check out my Instagram.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Jacob's Instagram.
Anyway, play Monkey Knife Fights this week. You triple your money with every single play. There's no fights next week, so you might as well go all in. And Dan's going to tell you to check out the bets. But before you do that, Danny, what's your play on the Monkey Knife Fight line?
I'm going to go with less more, although I think Jaynes could stop this early with a big shot. So less or less more, I think is a good play here.
Well, and you could bet under in rounds if you think Justin Jaynes is either knockout or gets submitted. Under in rounds is a solid bet too.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the line for Jaynes inside the distance, and also fight does not go the distance. Just see what those odds look like. I think Jaynes inside the distance, you're going to get some pretty good odds.
Yeah, I would assume so because Charles is pretty tough.